Do you enjoy reading books? If so, then you're going to love the Business Book Review. This week's book is The Canceling of the American Mind by Greg Lukianoff and Rikki Schlott. If you've been watching this series for a while, you might remember that I reviewed Greg's other book, The Coddling of the American Mind, and I raved about it back then. And this book is no exception. I liked it as much as his previous book. The Canceling of the American Mind is about the increasing occurrences of cancel culture and the damaging effects that it has, not just on the people getting canceled, but the rest of us who might be losing out on diversity of thought. This book is a wonderful pairing to his first book, The Coddling of the American Mind, and it kind of takes over where that book left off. As a reminder, in his first book, he talked about the three great untruths that have become adopted as fact in young American culture. Although it's not just America, in my opinion, it's a lot of first world countries, but it's really bad here. And those three untruths are as follows. What doesn't kill you makes you weaker. Always trust your feelings. And number three, life is a battle between good and evil people. The oversimplified narrative that well-intentioned good people battle against bad people, and if somebody doesn't agree with you, then they're naturally bad. This book addresses a fourth new untruth, which is an extension of the three called bad people only have bad opinions. So if you see somebody as bad, there's no need to listen to them about anything, and whatever they might say is wrong, not because it's factually correct, but because they can only have bad ideas. Just like his first book, he addresses these social phenomenons from both the left side and the right side. And if you have a strong ideology either on the left or the right, you're going to hate half the book and love the other half. Greg, just so you'll know, is a left-leaning Democrat. Rikki is a right-leaning libertarian. And the book has several heartbreaking stories about people from both the left and the right who've been canceled professionally and in some cases been driven to suicide because of the seemingly ruthless approach people have on social media to silence somebody that they disagree with. The book looks at the perspectives of how the left cancels the right and how the right cancels the left, but they have different strategies for doing so. He refers to the political left as having the perfect rhetorical fortress because it's a complex set of 11 barricades that if you can overcome one barricade, there will always be another barricade to prevent them from having to respect or listen to your argument. These barricades are filters like your political ideology, your race, your sex, your sexuality. Can you be guilty by association? Or when they run out of all their other barricades, they can just hint that something else must be going on, which is enough for them to cancel your opinion. There's this consistent whittling of these different categories to where by the time you've gone through all of the barricades, you're probably looking at like less than 0.2% of the population who might be able to defend themselves against their logic for why they should cancel you. Now, the right canceling the left is slightly different. They have what the authors refer to as the efficient rhetorical fortress. And it's the same effect, but it's just more efficient because they don't have a bunch of complex set of barricades. They really just have three. The right can dismiss anyone if they're an expert, a journalist, or a liberal. And of course, for anyone on the MAGA right, you can also dismiss anybody if they disagree with Trump. It's a fascinating centrist approach to how blind both sides are of their own fortress. Talk to a liberal, they're going to say that all the cancellations are happening from the right. You talk to a conservative, and they're going to say all the libtards are canceling the right. A great example of this hit home with me when I was reading the book. I was reading this during the holidays and I was with my family, who are all conservative, by the way, even though I'm a liberal. And I was talking about these rhetorical fortresses and how the left has all these rules to be able to cancel anybody who disagrees with them, and how the right has a more efficient system where they have less complex rules, but they can just disregard anybody because of these three main things. And my brother looked at me and he goes, well, I get that the left cancels people all the time, but where does the right cancel people other than Dylan Mulvaney with Budweiser? He was completely blind to all of the other times where the right has canceled people that disagree with them. Beyond describing the fortress from each side, he shares stories from both the left and the right of people whose lives have been ruined, not because they did necessarily anything wrong, but they just had a misstep socially. Maybe they made a joke or they said something which was completely normal, but somebody on the other side of the aisle took it with great offense and immediately started a campaign to ruin their lives. It shows how even when someone acknowledges their wrongdoing, totally owns up to it, and apologizes, the other side will not forgive, but just continue to cancel them. It's heart-wrenching. This book also outlines how to fight back and prevent getting canceled, which I find to be incredibly useful. And once you read this book, you'll realize that you're not immune to these risks. Cancel culture is not something that only affects celebrities. It can affect normal people that just post something on social media without even thinking. Here's some of my favorite highlights from the book. Whereas once freedom of speech was correctly understood as the necessary tool of the powerless against the very powerful institutions now argue that it's a weapon of the powerful against the powerless. There is no better way to end intimidation than by refusing to be intimidated. When you're dealing with people who believe there's a conspiracy to shut them up, do absolutely nothing that looks anything like conspiracy to shut them up. Think of the dumbest thing you did as a teenager. Now imagine if that moment were preserved forever in the permanent record, available for anyone to see. Well, thanks to social media, that's the reality for Gen Z. Cancel culture will catch up to all of us at some point if we don't become a society that is less rigid. We will all find ourselves isolated and alone, having been canceled for something that we did. It's very ironic that we live in an era when we talk a great deal about diversity and inclusion, but in a very real sense, the ethos of cancellation culture is actually exclusion, monoculture, and conformity of perspective. While the book doesn't go into this, my personal belief is that the reason for this cancel culture stems from the scientific evidence that shows people in newer generations lack the ability to empathize because their lives have become so digitized they no longer interact face to face. You know that old quote, the good old days, even before my time, by the way, if you said something disrespectful to somebody, you might get punched in the nose. And that trained you to not just say every crazy thought that's inside your mind. But with social media, you don't get punched in the nose, so there's no consequence for your vitriol. People have become verbally violent and more extreme. The algorithms in social media don't care whether someone kills themselves because they were publicly canceled and their lives are ruined. All the algorithm cares about is getting things to go viral regardless of the consequence. And the moment we jump on that cancel bandwagon, we are complicit in destroying somebody else's life. If nothing else, reading this book might make you second guess cracking a joke or writing a disrespectful post about somebody that is getting canceled. I think that cancel culture is the result of the degradation of social norms through social media. It is a shocking book, and I highly recommend anyone read it, if nothing else to immunize you against getting canceled on the day that you, as well as we all inevitably will, to have a misstep and say something dumb. If you read the book, please let me know what you think and even share some of your favorite lines in the comments below. In fact, please use the comments section to recommend a book that you think I might enjoy. Some of my favorite books have come from recommendations from people that I respect. Also, if you like these reviews, you might want to just hit subscribe and turn on the notifications so that when I release a new review, you'll be the first to know. Coming up, I'll be reviewing the book Simple Rules, The First Minute, and Scorecard Marketing by Daniel Priestley. Until then, let's all try a little harder to be a little better. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch that book review. If you liked it, I think you might like this one as well. Check it out.